Hello to you all and welcome to IMPROVATE's first international conference. IMPROVATE is a platform for connecting governments and innovation companies. IMPROVATE's mission is to connect change makers in technology with leaders in governing positions. IMPROVATE is dedicated to find solutions and sparking collaborations that will improve the quality of life for the many. Here with us, IMPROVATE's founder and chairman, Irina Nevzlin. Our special guest today, the Right Honourable Tony Blair, the former Prime Minister of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, and the founder and chairman of the Tony Blair Institute for Global Change. Also with us today are honourable ministers from Israel and Africa, Mr. Yizhar Shai, Minister of Science and Technology from Israel, Mr. Joseph Antoine Kasonga Mukata, Minister of Agriculture, Democratic Republic of Congo. Also with us, Omari Tewebe Gumba, Deputy Minister of Agriculture, Tanzania, Minister Ato Sani Reddy, Minister of Natural Resources Management and Food Security in Ethiopia, Professor Edie Boga, Secretary of the State Department for Crop Development and Agriculture Research, Kenya, Minister Jubalani Mabuza, Minister of Agriculture, Eswatini, Mr. Jonathan Bialosuka Wata, the Minister of Fisheries and Livestock in Congo, Mr. Masima, he is the Ambassador of Tanzania in Israel, and Mrs. Coringanor, Head of Structures and Export Finance at Bank Discount. We will hear today from Israel leading agrotech and innovation companies. They will present solutions here in the studio in the field of food security. Food security has become a burning issue, especially today because of the pandemic. That is why we choose to deal with this issue today. So here at the studio or via Zoom, Netafim, Next Firm, LR Group, ICL, AlefBet Planners, AgroScout, Bioefficiency, Milky, Bermad, and finance company that can help those wonderful tech companies to do business in Africa. Discount Bank, Ashra, East Africa International Finance Corporation, and African Export-Import Bank, Afrexim Bank. Also watching us, representative of investment fund from around the world that are looking for investment in Israel innovation companies. This conference will be the first in a series of international conference held by IMPROVATE to connect between governments and innovation companies. So, let's start. I would like to introduce Irina Nevzlin, the founder and the chair of IMPROVATE. Irina is Israeli entrepreneur. She grew up and started her career in Moscow, continued in London, and now lives in Israel. She's the author of the book, The Impact of Identity, The Power of Knowing Who You Are. Over the last decade, she's a chair of the board in the Museum of the Jewish People. She conducted a $100 million transformation. It is now the biggest Jewish museum in the world, telling the story of unity and success. So, Mrs. Nevzlin, what is the vision behind IMPROVATE?
First, Danny, thank you very much for the question. And I have to tell something. I'm very excited. I'm grateful to everybody who is watching us and who is with us in the studio. It's our first inaugural conference, and we did it at the time when it's hard to imagine it's possible. And it's possible because there is some nice woman looking to me from control room, Ronit Hassin-Hochman, who is my partner and the CEO of the company who made it happen. Now, back to your question. You see, I think we all know that there is a crisis in leadership around the world. We see it everywhere, not just in crisis. It started before. Another problem is that for leaders to lead now, it became much more complicated because the world became so much more complicated. And so in order to lead in times like that, you really need to be able to do the teamwork and to bring different brains together. And what I see is that over the last decade, 2 decades, we really have 2 leadership groups. One is elected politicians, and the other one is tech companies, which are growing in their impact on life of everybody. Now, those two groups are ought to talk together to build a shared language, and this is where we come into place. We want to make sure that these groups come and work to make life better for all of us and for many.
So, Mrs. Nevslin, how can IMPROVATE help the world in those problematic days?
I'm glad you asked. Look, I think a lot of people who are here with us today get invitations to a lot of different gatherings. Now it's mostly online, but it used to be physical, where you have these discussions, which are basically two topics. One topic is issues and hand problems that we have, and the second one is who are we going to blame today for those problems? Now, while I think it's very important to know what problems we have and how we got to that, I also feel that there's a big group of people around the world who want to have another discussion. And the discussion is, okay, we have a problem. There's a theoretical reason why we got to where we got. But what we want to do is come together and find the solutions that will actually make our life better and everybody's lives better. So this is, I think, what IMPROVATE ought to do, especially in the time of crisis.
So that's what we're going to do in the next hours. Thank you, Mrs. Nevslin, for staying with us. And now to London. Hello, Mr. Tony Blair. It is a great honor to have you with us today. Today's meeting focuses on the subject that I know, very close to your heart, food security. Being active in Africa, how do you see the food security challenge in the continent, especially when the COVID pandemic makes a big problem in access to food?
Yeah, first of all, a big congratulations to everyone at IMPROVATE, to Irina and her team for making this get together happening. It's actually a huge tribute to their skill and ingenuity that they've managed to get so many people together on what I think is going to be a really important method of connecting people for the betterment of people in Africa. So food security is, of course, a huge challenge. And it was a challenge before COVID. COVID has deepened that challenge. But there's one other thing that the COVID-19 crisis has done, and that is that any problem that was there before COVID is there now, but accelerated. And the same is true also of the thinking behind the solutions to these problems. So in all the conversations, my institute works in around 15 different African countries with teams of people, and we're about to go into several more, including some of the countries represented on this call. What we find is there's now an enormous interest in the whole question of technology and what it can do to accelerate Africa's development and accelerate the solutions to these long-standing problems. Now, on food security, it's very, very clear. There are still large numbers of people in Africa that go hungry. Africa, just to give you some data points, it imports around $80 billion worth of agricultural produce. It exports 40 billion, so it has a deficit when it should have a huge surplus. The tariffs between African countries on the export of goods between those African countries are high, on average 12%. That means sometimes you have a situation where, for example, in South Africa, it could be actually more, it could be cheaper to import from Argentina than from an African country next door. And then thirdly, you've got a situation where the population of Africa is going to double in the next 30 years. So it's going to go from roughly 1.2 billion people to over 2 billion people. And at the same time, the numbers of people going to the cities is increasing. So this food security question has always been acute. It's even more acute now. And there is literally no way of dealing with this unless there's agricultural transformation in Africa. And that is to do with logistics and infrastructure and food production and scale. But technology has a role to play in each and every one of the issues that affect African agriculture.
Thank you very much, Mr. Blair. We will be talking with you later again. Thank you very much. Now, here in the studio, the Minister Izhar Shai, or we'll talk about something else now. Minister of Science, that is the right thing. In Israel, Izhar Shai, Israel is considered an innovation nation. As a minister who only recently entered your position, what are your plans to expose the world to Israeli technology?
Thank you, Danny, and thank you for having me here, Rena and Danny. It's a great honor to be here. Israel is considered as one of the leading hubs of innovation around the world. We are building innovation in various areas of technology and science. And as we are building those areas, we are also always looking forward into what happens next. What are the trends that build the next exciting companies, the next exciting areas for exploration of scientists, technologists, people who build companies, people who build the research within universities. As we look into what happens in the near future, we are looking into the potential of artificial intelligence as one of the most significant worldwide trends, which has a practical implication in almost every aspect of our day-to-day lives. As this applies to our discussion here, AI, artificial intelligence, is very applicable towards the areas of agriculture, of precision agriculture, which is an up-and-coming market trend by itself, and is a basis for cooperation between Israel and, I hope, many nations in Africa, and by the way, around the world as well.
So can you say a word about Israel's startup companies and food security in Africa?
So, as a minister, I'm not allowed to mention names, so I will talk to the market names. Segment. We do see Africa rising over the last decade as a potential market for Israeli companies. Traditionally, Israeli companies, even in the area of agriculture, were focused more on South America, North America, and some areas in the East. Now Africa has become a good trade partner for Israeli companies, for innovation companies that deal with the various aspects of food security. And again, you see companies developing technologies in the area of water technologies. You see companies developing in the areas of food improvements, yield, again, using AI for precision agriculture in order to improve the quality of crops, the quality of agricultural product around many sectors of that market. And we believe that this will also be the basis for much more to come, as the world is now realizing the importance of food technologies, of food security, and agriculture as a whole. I grew up in the Israeli high tech in the 90s. You would not talk about agriculture in the sense of innovation then. Nevertheless, we are 30 years later, which speaks to my age. And now we are talking agriculture as innovation, as an important aspect of the Israeli tech nation, startup nation, and innovation overall.
And as Mr. Blair said, the people of Africa will be double themselves in 30 years. So our next presentation, next company, AlefBet Planners, one of the Israelis' leading planning and design companies, is known for its design, creativity, and engineering expertise. With us is Kobi Bogin, CEO of AlefBet Planners, and Ronen Feigenbaum, civil engineer, livestock and farm building, who will tell us more about AlefBet's operations.
Hi, Annie. Hi, everybody.
Annie.
And we are, as you say, a design engineering firm, and our mission to reduce the gap between the African rural area to the Western rural area. And my friend Ronen will present now our ability.
We are, as a former architectural and engineering department of the kibbutz movement, we have a unique experience and unique expertise on planning and designing not only villages, but also designing vertical integrations of several agriculture activities such dairy farms, greenhouses, including packing houses, slaughtering houses, poultry, vertical integrations, and also feed mills, slaughterhouse, meat products, etc. In general, we can say that we also design not just the agriculture part, but also the post-harvesting part. This is the way that we really think that rural development needs to be done. We are designing regional master plans that will allocate all these components and also the connection between them, the infrastructure that connects between them, meaning water supply, power supply, and communications. We have also a wide range of designing farms and many types of farms, and also greenhouses, as I said, poultry, dairy farms is our leading experience. And the rural development project that we did in Venezuela, La Ruana, we did just, according to the next slide, as you can see, was established in 7,000 hectares plot, with including a new village of 500 residential units. A master plan was designed for all the components that you can see here, that includes not just the dairy farm, but also the milk processing plant, a poultry, and a compost plant, feed mill, logistics centers, etc. And this is one of the examples that we can offer to you. We offer a range of services of planning, designing farms as not just dairy farms, but also poultry and eggs and meat, greenhouses, cattle beef, and their support facilities also for crops farms. We have a worldwide expertise, especially on dairy farms. As you can see, you have seen in previous presentation of other companies from Israel, like the dairy farm done in Papua New Guinea was designed by us. The project in Wako Congo for 15 villages was also done by us. And also in Congo Brazzaville, that we will see later on an example. Dairy farming in Israel, we have the highest technology and the highest production for dairy farm for the cows here in Israel. The production per cow is about 12,000 liters per cow per year. And we are offering not just the design, but also that it's based on the technologies, the latest technologies, to bring a higher production for the cow in our farms. Will improve milk productivity and also quality and hygiene parameters, and as I said, also enhance the milk products that will be at the market with the very good raw materials, very good milk quality. You can produce also the premium products for the local market or even for export. This is one of our projects done in South Africa near Cape Town, based, as I said, in Israeli technology. It's housing now 2,000 cows. As I said, we have very high experience on processing plants, packing houses and cooling houses for several or many kind of crops, either field crops or orchard crops. Greenhouses and logistics centers is one of the objects or projects that we can offer. We have a vast experience on those also, coming actually from water and land to the product in the supermarket. We believe that the post-harvesting is one of the key issues in order to add value to the crops in the fields. This added value will improve the standard of living, will enhance the standard of living of the villages, and also supply a lot of jobs in the vicinity. This is one of the our projects that you can see 6 villages that were done in Congo, Brazil. You can see in the layout, this is based on the Moshav model in Israeli Moshav model. And we have a house, and in the backyard a large parcel, and each family can grow whatever they want, vegetables or other crops, and also some building or shed or whatever for the livestock or greenhouses as well. All these products will come to the logistics center and the post-harvesting, and then marketed to the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
That's it from IMPROVATE Food Security in Africa. We have heard today about the needs of Kenya and Ghana, Ethiopia, Congo, and Tanzania in the field of food security. We received an overview of the continent from Honorable Tony Blair with us here in Israel, Ministers of Agriculture and Science and Technologies. We were exposed to leading Israeli agri-tech companies that can help the problems of food security. IMPROVATE's next conference will be on the topic of upgrading agriculture through smart agricultural technologies in Eastern Europe, and will take place in October 29th, 2020, chaired by the former Bulgarian President Rosen Plevneliev and agriculture ministers from Eastern Europe. Thank you all. Let's hope for better days for everybody, health for everybody. Thank you.